Hi, hello again. Stephen from Alcohol Free Lifestyle. I've been asked by a couple of people to basically go over what happened to me the last 5 years and how I got from being seriously ill to being seriously well, I suppose. I've been drinking most of my life. I had a few issues, but nothing major until about 2014. And I'd been off and on a little bit. I've been off for 8 years, actually, till 2014. Then I started drinking again. I'm not going into the reasons why, it's too long winded. Basically, I relapsed. So I tried to come off 2014 with the use of diazepam, which I'd used in the past. The doctors didn't want to give me any more, even though I'd been off the drink for 8 years and had never requested any diazepam. New regulations came in that said that they weren't going to prescribe it. So then a bit of a fight myself to try and get off the drink. I'd had previous seizures when I just stopped cold turkey. That was my big fear. It wasn't the fact I felt rough trying to come off. I just was so worried about having another seizure was the main thing. So basically, I was self-medicating with alcohol to try and make myself feel a little bit better. Sometimes I did. I felt a little bit better during the day. But as you know, anybody who's been a heavy drinker, you can't keep topping up, as it were. Cut long story short, over the next 4 to 5 years, I became very dependent on alcohol, and my life went downhill massively to the point where I started to get symptoms of liver problems with ascites fluid, which is a buildup of fluid in your stomach, weakness, weight loss, muscle wastage. No, I didn't realize how ill I was actually until a friend of mine pointed out that I looked absolutely dreadful. I've gone down to 9 stone in weight. I'm 6'2" ish. All my face was sunken in. It was a dreadful, dreadful time. But I'm going to move on from there and go to the medical procedures and what happened to me and what will happen to you if you don't stop and what can be done to get yourself well again. So 2019, I got blue lighted to hospital. Was diagnosed with liver issues, and they drained a lot of fluid off me because when the liver has been hammered with the drink, it tends to shrink and goes hard. It's not flexible, so nothing's getting through it basically. I did that a couple of times, drained this fluid off, and I thought, well, at least I'm in hospital. I'm going to get looked after, which I was. 2 weeks later, I got discharged, and then I had to go back to a liver specialist hospital. About 6 weeks after that, I got readmitted again because this fluid was still building up. Then I had a seizure in the hospital. So after that, I ended up in intensive care. All very scary stuff, all this current. Then it was decided later on to give me some sort of little procedure in the liver to open up the portal vein to allow blood flow, which in the vast majority of cases it does work, but it didn't work. So I had to do that again. In the meantime, I had a huge umbilical hernia, which bled twice. The second time round, it couldn't stop the blood, and I had to have emergency surgery in intensive care again, but it was resus actually, not intensive care, resus of a local hospital. Managed to sort that out. Then I had to have another operation to get rid of this hernia. All of this is related to the drink. There were other things that went on, regular visits to different GPs, consultants, scans, everything, bone scans even. About 3 years ago, I decided to really push myself because prior to that I couldn't walk. I was in a wheelchair 2020. So I started to push myself mentally and physically a little bit and decided to go on a clean diet. So I'm going to try and tell you what you need to do if you want to get back on track. It's not easy. You've got to change your whole mindset. Your whole way of thinking has to change. Your social life has to change. Your diet has to change. The way you deal with people has to change. Your dreams have to change. Because otherwise, the pub will always be the place you go back to. The pub's always going to be there. There'll always be somebody to talk to in the pub. You've got to basically create yourself a new life. For a lot of people, that's very difficult. There's a lot of people in the habit, aren't they? Fortunately, when I was younger, I moved around a bit. So I wasn't one of these sort of local people, as it were. And I moved to London. I moved around a bit in London, did various things. Travelled quite a lot in Europe, that sort of thing. So it wasn't that difficult for me to cut people off, shall we say, and move on. That's what you've got to do. You can't keep going back to your old mates and starting drinking again, because you'll be back to square one. It'll be worse next time you go back. So I started getting a little bit better, like I say, and the doctors were quite amazed actually at how well I got myself. And I asked the consultant last year, I said, how come I went from death's door to how I am now? And he said, quite frankly, when I saw you in 2019, I wouldn't have believed, if somebody told me then, that you would have got back to the health you are now. So it's a matter for you, yourself, to stop drinking. She also said, I've done everything they asked, which was stop drinking, eat a good diet, drink plenty of water, push yourself to do some exercise. All these things, you need to do all of them. If you miss one out, then you're going to relapse. As soon as you relapse, you're finished. Especially as you get older, because every time you relapse, you're physiologically more weak. Your body can't deal with it. Your mind can't deal with it. You feel regret. You feel as if you let yourself down, all this stuff if you relapse. So 8 years sober, then relapsed. It's the power of addiction sometimes. But I went right down to the bottom when I nearly died. Now, if you're interested, I can give you some hints and tips on this, how to get well. I'm not a doctor, but after 40 years of drinking, various relapses and such like, I've got quite a good knowledge, practical knowledge, and a little bit of scientific knowledge that I picked up by doing research myself. And the figures are quite staggering about the amount of problem drinkers there are in the UK and the amount of deaths there are through not just liver disease, but from heart attacks, strokes, pancreatitis and such like. So you've got to really focus to stay sober. Because even after all those procedures that I had, I still wondered what it would be like to go into a pub and have a drink. Now I know I could have 2 or 3, but in a week's time I'd be having 4 or 5. In 6 months' time I wouldn't be here. That's been a good friend of mine the other day, who's a little bit younger than me. He's been sober for about 7 or 8 years. He said every time he walks past a pub, he fancies going in, but he doesn't. If he does, he'll drink what I drink, which is not low, but 0% alcohol. His problem was that you couldn't go in a pub and just have one, you'd stay there all night. Mine built up to that, but even that first drink can turn you back, 0 and beyond back. It's, they call it in this sort of environment, don't pick up a glass. You'll often hear Paul Gaza mention that. He goes, oh, picked up again. As soon as you pick that first glass up, you get that taste for it, then you're back on the drink. That's what you've got to avoid. It's the first drink that will kill you. It seems a bizarre comment, that, but that's what happened, the first drink. So don't pick up the first drink. You've got to try your best to save your life. The doctors can only do so much, you know. At the end of the day, it's your body, it's your health, and you're responsible for it. And if you want any hints or tips, as I mentioned, please leave me a comment, because everything's positive now. I can get you there. I can give you advice to get you there. But you've got to be focused. You've got to be willing to change your life, change your mind, and change everything around you. And the benefits are massive. And you'll find your life will be 100 times better. It's like being 21 again in your mind. Obviously you're not. But you have more energy, more vitality. You're sharper. You look better. Your skin gets better. You sleep better. Everything is better. There are no benefits I can name from drinking alcohol. I'll leave it there. If you have anything to say, leave me a little note in the comments section. And please subscribe if you wish to. I'll speak to you all soon.